Alright, so I played a couple of games recently, one of which is Shadows of Afterland. Well, this is yet another point and click I have enjoyed, and mostly because it is lacking moon logic. It's got a cute story too, anyway. It's a fairly short one, and there's nothing in particular that stands out. Which sounds negative, but what I'm trying to say here is that it's solid. Not bad, not amazing, just solid. The story is about a woman who suddenly died, only it's not her who is a playable character. Or is it? In a maid uniform, as was her last worn clothes, a female detective is trying to figure out the mystery of her death and uncover the truth behind the shadows of the Afterlands. There are a few things to praise, voice acting for example. The lead, specifically, although there are a few other characters who are pleasant to listen to. But there are also the gym guy and the reincarnation proprietor who sound truly awful. They definitely needed more work. Either better direction or tone or something, but yeah, everyone here is voice acted, and only two being bad is a pretty good track record. I've also enjoyed the puzzles well enough. After playing some other games, having things be fairly straightforward is pretty nice, and there's another reason why this felt easier, the graphics. And, well, it's pixels of course, but it's about the style. The game is in a very colorful, blocky art style. Reminds me a bit of Toonstruck, if anyone is old enough to remember that. A cleaner, more family-friendly and modern version of Toonstruck. Problem with some point-and-clicks, but there is a sometimes pixel hunt happening. Looking for the tiny object the player is supposed to find, and other times something is part of a background or at the very least looks like it, but is actually interactable. Not the case here. It's very straightforward what can be clicked on, and every single thing is clearly obvious whenever it's a part of a puzzle or just flair. Some of it also provides hints toward the future puzzles or solutions to them. All that is to say, I am shocked how rare this is. A seemingly simple feature, yet so damn rare in puzzles or point-and-clicks. I suppose it's just difficult to get an art style which is good, looking good for everybody, so... And I suppose the story is interesting too. It's set in 1960s Spain. Fairly inconsequential in the overall plot, but since it's mainly afterlife, but the parts on Earth are rare, but people frequently bring up certain events from it. And I've learned something new, like whatever Antonio Tejero did. But the story of the game itself is pretty nice too, if a bit clumsy. The beginning seems like a very typical point-and-click, where the player is thrown in and is supposed to be a total asshole, stealing everything not nailed down, lying, and so on and so forth. Seriously, think about how much trouble point-and-click protagonists cause. But there's also a fight against the serial killer and rekindling of the agent's passion. I think pacing from that first part to the second one could use some work, and everything revolving around that man was just not great design. But the ideas behind it, the acceptance, the fears, the duality, the themes I do believe are pretty good. So, another game I played is the Dark Rites of Arkham. It's another point and click by the people who made the English Haunting. They also made another game, but I didn't try that one yet. So, this one is a mess, honestly. Don't know if I'd recommend it. Discounted or bundled or something, but yeah, I am definitely disappointed with this one. So the story is about a duo of detective, a grizzled veteran fed up with basically everything, and he's what is essentially Dr. Watson. Polite, smart, learned, and overall a much more pleasant fella to be around. Although still, covering a deep, dark secret. Will the two of them uncover the mysteries of Arkham? Or will we somehow go from that to summoning an eldritch horror and shooting some people? All and more will be uncovered in the Dark Rites of Arkham. So the things about this game I have enjoyed are a bit of a scraping the bottom of a barrel kind of situation. Such as the character dynamics. The two leads work well enough off each other, but I don't believe there's enough banter or comedy to truly pop. Sometimes there are amusing situations, like when trying to pet a dog. I just needed to keep petting the dog and annoying the other character. And sometimes it's pretty touching, such as when the backstories are revealed. But something about this whole thing just doesn't land for me. It's not as good as it could be. The one standout feature, which is fairly minor, but it's still there, is the zoom in. During some conversation, the player gets to experience this kind of third-person view of the two characters talking to someone else, and it very much does look like a police questioning. There are only a handful of these, but this feature delivers this kind of tense atmosphere really well, especially when questioning someone who looks strange, let's leave it at that. Which is bringing me to another point, the atmosphere in general. It's a messed up city during the end of a prohibition. It gets repealed right as the game ends, by the way. And apparently it was not a very fun time. Everyone was losing money, people going homeless left and right, they couldn't even legally drink, cops are both corrupt and inept. All the while there is this underlying air of unease and misery as everyone is on edge. Which is, in this game, manifesting itself as Lovecraftian influence. Although I gotta say, looking at it now and looking at the current times, history might not repeat, but it sure does rhyme. Anyway, my problem with the game is that it's got moon logic, and it has hard-to-spot objects, and it has confusing narrative which jumps from a small investigation to a let's save the world, as the stakes skyrocket in an instant, and I quite frankly didn't like it. In addition, at times it felt like the game had a bit of an identity crisis. Sometimes it's creepy, sometimes it's supposed to be, well, maybe it's supposed to be scary in the forest or the basement, but then it's somewhat silly. At least when trying to solve every problem with a gun. I just had to. But the gist is what I was torn between the expecting jokes and expecting tension. And pretty much getting neither. That's just kinda why I'm combining my talk with the Afterland. It's like whatever is missing in Arkham is much better in there. I mean, down to the voice acting. Arkham doesn't have any voice acting, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just the perfect example of what is missing. Anyway, more point and clicks, guess I'm a fan of a genre, if you can call someone a fan who hates Monkey Island, classic Sierra titles, King's Quest, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Oh well.